Please listen carefully.
Well, hello, universe, and welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Kristy Jansen.
And I'm Summers Kristy.
And we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to make it one focus on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy podcast. Today is Friday, the 23rd of October, 2020. 23rd, man. Brennan's 15 months old today, officially.
Oh, high five, Brennan.
Yeah, she's like 15 months going on 40. So, how are you today, my friend?
I'm fine. As we were reading our little opening segment, I'm wondering, should we look at editing that again?
Nah, people like what
people like. Okay. It doesn't take too long.
If you're a listener, guys, and you want to edit it for us, send us an email and, maybe we'll consider it. We'll take submissions for a new version of our intro. I'm talking to you, Bob Perry. All right. Well,
I am drinking green tea this morning, though. I decided to switch up my routine, and I'm backwards. I'm having green tea this morning. I'll have coffee this afternoon.
Well, hopefully you'll have a wild and raucous Friday night. Do you have any fun plans for the weekend?
Well, as I have been talking about, I've been dreaming about all the redecorating I would like to do in my house. So we did get one more shelf for the garage. And I'm going to possibly tonight put on a mask and go look at a table from Craigslist for a new dining table, possibly.
That's very exciting. I was creeping like Craigslist last night.
That's like date night in COVID world, is to go out and look at a Craigslist potential piece of furniture from Craigslist with my husband.
I'm with you as far as the Craigslist situation, because I am starting to look for kind of like outdoor little playhouses, the old like play school play table and little, the plastic outdoor playhouses and stuff like that. The little car, because Brennan is expanding her area of play and I need a little more for her to work with, but I just don't want to buy new plastic. So I am looking for good used stuff on Craigslist as well. And also Nextdoor. We use the Nextdoor app, and Facebook Marketplace has good stuff too. So
it's all about, one person's trash is another person's treasure. It's all about the circular economy and bringing that into our consumption patterns as well.
Exactly. Well, and if you guys are out there searching for redoing your houses in some way, feel free to tell us about it. Comment on social. We want to know, what project are you working on? Speaking of not being able to go anywhere or do anything, Kristy, was there a headline in the Optimist Daily that made you feel expansive?
Yes, in fact, there was. And I know that the headline talks about the stunning visuals, but I just like the idea of talking about this. The headline reads, "A Reader's Dream, Have a Look at the World's Most Stunning Libraries." There's a link in the article to take you to some tremendously beautiful libraries. But for me, reading and books, especially when we can't go anywhere, the wonderful thing about books is that once you get into one, you can really be transported to a whole new world, a whole new universe even. I'm a big science fiction fan. And it informs and inspires and delights me to read a book. Right now, I'm even listening to books on tape or podcasts about books. Phoebe Reads a Mystery is one of my new favorite podcasts, and she's reading Sherlock Holmes right now. So I've been, every morning when I walk Tucker, I listen to a new chapter of a Sherlock Holmes caper, which is really fun.
Oh, I love it.
So I've been, steeped in 1880s England with Sherlock and Dr. Watson. That's been pretty fun. Anyway, this is a fun story. There are some tremendously visually stunning places. And there is something about being around books and just being in the midst of books that are showcased in a beautiful way and having a nice reading nook, which I have a little area in my house that is set up with lots of plants and soft pillows that I can sit in and read when I'm in my afternoon funk and I need to take a screen break. And libraries really did change the world in a way, and reading the printed word. So I know we're all into the electronic era now. We've got the electronic word, but sharing knowledge is part of how we advance as human beings. So,
do you have a favorite library?
No. My favorite library is to go to Powell's Books in Portland.
Yeah.
I love I could just go every time I go to Portland. I have some really great friends who live in Portland. So I used to go at least once a year. It's been a while since I've been up there because my 2020 trip plans definitely did not pan out.
Yes.
But I could go there and just spend 3 full days just sitting around, wandering around the stacks of Powell's, which is basically there's several different blocks that are there's the science and tech one, but the main one is a full city block of 6 stories of books, which that's to me lovely.
Oh yeah. Well, I love the Los Angeles Public Library, which is gorgeous. And I went to an event there, I don't know, a decade ago. It was a charity event to raise funds for the Los Angeles Public Library. It was a toast to reading was the theme of the event. And they gave out these cork coasters that look like pieces of toast. And they're the coasters that I still use in my home. And I went around and they were, just everywhere, right? They were giving them away as sort of party favors, and they were on every bookshelf was like a little piece of toast. It was made of cork that people would put their drinks on so they wouldn't be on the bookshelves or harming the books. So I went and collected all these little pieces of toast. And so I have a full loaf of toast coasters that that live in my home. And I have to tell you, it's really funny because they totally trick people, because people just come to my house and think I just have toast on my table.
Does Brennan eat them?
No, I mean, she tried, and then she figured out that they were not toast. Anyway, the Los Angeles Public Library and I were intimately connected because their toast coasters still live. And I wonder what publicist came up with that idea, and whoever it was, they don't know this, but they are with me every single day. And that is what my morning coffee rests on while I am using the Optimist Daily to expand my horizons.
Perfect. So the other thing that I love about libraries is that they are a perfect example of the sharing economy. And they were, I think, invented by Benjamin Franklin.
It was Benjamin Franklin. Yeah,
I think it was. And the idea of having a central repository of all this knowledge that is open to the public that you can borrow from is part of what advances human knowledge. And so I think that's why I love libraries as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Whether they're libraries of books or tools or videos or whatever we can own collectively and have access to. Yeah. I think that's a very positive movement. Yeah. Sharing is caring, right, Summers?
Sharing is caring. Well, speaking of not feeling trapped, for me, looking at wildlife all around the world is the most expansive thing I can do. And I'm actually thinking about bringing Brennan to the zoo. I think I mentioned that earlier. But today's headline, as goes my love of creatures and protection of them, motion sensor uses AI to recognize when wildlife is running from poachers. Now, I love this. AI, fantastic. Drones, fantastic. Anything to stop poachers from endangered species, and any species of any kind, is wonderful. Scientists at the University of Twente in the Netherlands are mixing motion sensors with machine learning to create a powerful tool that could help combat wildlife poaching. Long story short, these motion sensors are, put into a system where poaching tends to happen. The measurement that includes like an accelerometer, gyroscope, and magnetometer basically gather standard motion of animals and standard herd behavior, and then the derivant behavior that might indicate a poacher is chasing them. And basically it relays this information to a mobile network and alerting conservationists and those tasked with protecting these animals. I love it. It's another solution in a cornucopia of solutions to, 1, mitigate the value of poached animals, 2, to punish the poachers, and 3, to really find out who's doing the poaching when it's happening. A gentleman by the name of Professor Andrew Skidmore is quoted by saying, linking wild animal movements recorded using sensors with remotely sensed imagery and GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems, models is promising technology to better understand the ecological requirements of each species. they're not only getting baseline data for these animals to understand their needs, their behaviors, their movements, they're also noticing that when behavior is different from normal, that it would indicate that they are in peril. And that peril, unfortunately, is poachers. So I'm very, very excited about it. Of course, the imagery has elephants and, me and my Ellies and my giraffes, all of the animals that I talk about all the time. It's just really, really exciting when we find a tool that is effective for learning one thing and then find out we're learning another. And that's what I really love about this. So everybody, you can go on a little bit of a safari while reading the Optimist Daily today. And you can either be in libraries around the world or on safari and expand and not feel so stuck at home.
All right. Well, some other good news that we're sharing today. There's a headline. Research shows Americans are consuming less sugary beverages. That's good for our health. And
but that probably excludes wine.
Exactly. As Summers and I were sharing yesterday in our socially distant face-to-face meeting, our alcohol consumption has gone up like most of America's.
Yeah.
In this time of COVID.
Some businesses do well during COVID, and one of them is booze.
Definitely. The planet's least loved vehicle, the Hummer, is back, but this time as an electric vehicle, and that's going to be interesting. I suppose it's good to use electric power to power those massive trucks, but I don't know. We'll see more about that.
As long as they're a participant in a circular economy of electric vehicles, as you'll read about on this weekend's Optimist View.
Our article about a simple trick to help you eat slower and eat more mindfully. That's also important in our relationship with food. Uber is set to invest millions in EV charging points around London. This is part of the electric revolution, which we are in the midst of, guys, whether you like it or not. This white paint reflects over 95% of sunlight to help cool buildings.
So I love this white paint story because there was a paint that was the blackest black, right, that came out a few years ago. And actually, my son, who's an artist, and my husband, who has a bicycle manufacturing company, they got some of the blackest black paint and did a custom model of the bike in the darkest black. And it is pretty remarkable. I mean, it literally reflects no light. And so I think that this is super exciting to use paint in this way to affect, a building, whether it's the blackest black or the whitest white. I think it's really exciting. Well, I'll jump in here with a few more. Australia is building a giant solar farm that will be visible from space. And Kristy reminded me when I read this headline that there's always a negative to the potential positive. Nothing exists in a vacuum. And so, just as we were saying yesterday that the ocean-cooled edifices are great in areas where there's seawater, this is great in an area where there is copious amounts of sunlight. Burger King is testing reusable containers for sandwiches and drinks. I gotta say, I like the idea of that, and I think that'll be a huge change for people to accept, but reusable containers would not be a bad thing. How to cultivate a little more happiness at home and at work, and one of them is laugh. So there's a bunch of other tips in there, but it's a great story, and we all need a little more happiness at home and at work. That's it. It's TGIF, Kristy. Let's get to our Craig listing. I mean, after all the work we have to do. But let's have a good weekend.
I think that's a very good advice, Summers. And thank you, everybody, for listening to today's Optimist Daily Update. We promise to keep sharing these positive solution-based stories with ideas on how you and we can all participate in changing this world to ensure it has changed for the good. We promise to keep covering current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and offer you information that you need most to chart new paths for all of us.
Hey, before I fully wrap us up, I want to thank everyone who's listening for being one of the 10,000 listens of the Optimist Daily Update. We've actually gone so far beyond that 10,000 mark. When we hit it, I was overjoyed, and now I'm not even keeping up with the numbers. But everyone who is listening, you're rad. Thank you. And please, while you're listening, consider becoming an emissary on theoptimistdaily.com. And for just $5 a month, support reader-funded, independent journalism. Be part of the solution, changing consciousness and addressing our world's biggest challenges with a problem-solving mindset. Let's keep the Optimist Daily free to all who need it, supported by those who can.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Sorry, my Roomba's yelling at me in Portuguese in the background. Hang on.